Boxing Day, whatever you want to call it, to you and yours. I'm Justin McCartney. Marty McCauley sitting by there. We're ready to go. Yeah,
ready to go. Ready to go. Rock and or roll.
This is one of these Ben Brackens. They're excellent for the money.
They're not bad though for the money. Whoever it is does the buying for Lidl. I think his name. I can't remember his name. Is Paul Quayle or something. His name is. He does a hell of a job now. It's very good. I'm on the Killowen in honor of our guest later on this evening.
Yes, which is going to be in about 20 minutes' time. We're going to be speaking to the main man himself, Brendan. So we'll hear all about that.
Very well.
And his dark rum, amongst other things.
Amongst other things, he's one of the. He calls himself one of the young Turks. He's sort of one of the new kids on the block. There's not a more passionate Irish whiskey advocate in the industry. That's the truth. He's a fabulous guy.
So, what's first on the news tonight then, Marty? Because we've a rather long Christmas special interview with him. 40 minutes we're talking to him about.
40 minutes. We talked to him during the week there because obviously it's a festive season and, well, anyone that knows Brendan knows that you'll be nursing a hangover today. So there's much...
And he's the gift of the gab too.
He's a wonderful fellow. So, Justin, did you get a wee whiskey yesterday? Did you get a tipple yesterday?
Yes, I had the Isla Ben Bracken. It was delicious actually.
Yeah, well, if memory serves, I think it's actually a Bowmore. I think it's a 5-year-old Bowmore was what it was being put out that it was. So for the money, I mean, you can't argue with it for the price of it, you know.
No, you certainly can't.
I am having. I've had a dose of the sniffs and the sneezes today for some reason. I've no idea why.
I hope you don't have it, do you? Did you have the one? Did you break your bubble for one day?
Nope.
Did you?
Nope. Well, to be fair, I went round and seen my mum, or my dad, and my stepmom, and that was about the height of it. That's all I really did. So I didn't really break any bubbles, but for some reason I've just got a dose of the sniffs. I don't know why, but I'm having Killowen Dark Rum. This was the first of the experimental cask series, and it's wonderful stuff that it is too.
Yeah, it's sort of features in the show later on tonight when we talk to Brendan. So welcome along. Remember to comment, like, and share if you're watching the show. Put your name up. We'll put your name up. Mark Kerr's here. He's not forsaken us this week. He's
back again.
He's back again for more. We also have Patrick Milky. He's there. Good evening to you.
Good.
Merry Christmas. Remember, comment, like, and share. Add us on YouTube because we still have this to give away. We lost five followers on YouTube. They were thinking we'll take ourselves off and then put ourselves back on again to be the 200th, and then we gained more back, but we still aren't back up to 200. So if you're the 200th on YouTube, you'll get this.
Oh, now I want to run a wee quick competition tonight, and it's to see. I've got 4 bottlings here, and I'm going to open one tonight because I haven't opened any of these before. I've had them for a wee while and just never got around to opening them. So I'm going to ask which one I should open. Should I open? Right. I have a 19-year-old Bowmore. Okay. This has never been opened. So 19-year-old Bowmore. What year's that? Writer's Tears. Cask Strength. 2017. I haven't opened that yet either. So we'll set that there. I've had this for a long time. I've tried this before, but I haven't opened this bottle of it. A 26-year-old single malt Irish Reserve limited release. This came from Aldi. When it came out, this was €40 a bottle. Okay. Now, these days it goes on auction sites for 2-3 times that.
Okay, yeah.
But you're never really going to be able to buy a 26-year-old Irish whiskey for €40 again. I would hazard a guess.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll try that one, and then I have this as well. I've tasted this before, but I haven't opened this bottle. It's it's not that one. Bushmills 1608 crystalline malt, in the rather nice velveteen box. You know. So we'll leave it to the people watching. Which one do they think I should open? And that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'll open one of these tonight after the interview. So
is this for your New Year sort of tipple?
It's kind of in celebration of the end of 2020. You know what I mean? 2020 has been such a shitty year for everybody that as I say, I've had all of these for a period of time. I just haven't got around to opening any of them. So, which one do our watchers think I should open? The 1608 Bushmills, the 26-year-old Irish Reserve, the single malt, Writer's Tears cask strength 53%, or the 19-year-old Bowmore. So I'll leave it up to the watchers. Tell us what you think.
Okay. Now, this week in whiskey, there's been no let up, Marty. It's a big week in whiskey.
Never stops. The wheels of whiskey never stop.
So what's first this week then?
Well, I have to give me papers a shake, Justin. First up is the BBC has reported that the Welsh whisky industry may be looking for PGA status, protected geographical indication. So according to the article, Brexit means that there's a rule change coming in January. That means that food and drink producers will be able to apply for a PGA indication. And they're encouraging that these guys engage with the government to try and push that forward. Now, Ireland obviously has its PGA for Irish whiskey, obviously, as does Scotland. But Wales pushing for it, obviously they can have a go for it. Wales already has Welsh lamb, Welsh beef, Caerphilly cheese, and Welsh wine, which I didn't think was been very. I didn't know Wales necessarily had vineyards, but it's protected under the PGA category. Now, Aberfoyle and Penderyn are the driving force behind this bid. When they were asked what makes Welsh whiskey Welsh, John Tregenna from Penderyn answered that the climate and the water. Now, I just wonder about this. Are we going to start seeing this being fractured down? Wales doesn't have a huge whiskey history, but it does have some. There are a few. There was particularly one, the Royal Welsh Distillery, that has closed down in, I think, about 1920, if memory serves.
You're a great advocate of these Dylan Thomas poets, whiskies and stuff like that.
Absolutely. But there's a difference between being an advocate of a brand or a distillery, and turning around and saying that it's got that the entire area has a unique character. So I don't know. Are we going to start seeing Cookstown sausages having a PGA indication because they come from Cookstown? Are we going to start seeing the Ballymena bun becoming PGA characterized food? You know, there is a certain element of it that's a French fancy, Mr. Kipling's French fancy. Maybe they can only be made in Paris from now on, Justin. You know, so where do you start drawing the line here? As Wales got a good enough whiskey heritage and whiskey industry to mark it out as significantly different? Well, I think that's up for debate.
I'm not so sure. I think they really deserve it, because obviously we've lost the European Union sort of control the pêche or whatever they call it. So we need that. And you know what? You know this. There's so many whiskies now. You have the distinct regions of whiskey, other places. So you really need the Belfast BAP. Yeah, the Belfast BAP needs
Belfast BAP.
Yeah. It's a thing that, I mean, is the Belfast BAP hard or soft? That is the question. Is it hard or soft?
I prefer my BAP soft. I like soft, easy touchable BAPs. I don't like very firm, hard, unyielding BAPs.
Careful now, or we'll be getting Facebook blocked.
I'm talking about Barney Hughes' product from Belfast. I don't know what you're thinking about. Well.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Now, what you said there about these new areas for whiskey, that leads me on to the second thing that sort of caught my eye this week. The International Wine and Spirit Competition has named the World Whiskey Producer of the Year this incoming week, or last week, sorry. Now, as we all know, normally the world of whiskey is dominated by Scotch, the US, Ireland now, and some of the newer countries like Japan and even Australia. But we talked about this before. There's all these new distilleries in different countries are popping up. So the IWSC awarded the Whiskey Producer of the Year to a distillery in Finland. Right? The Terempeli Brewery and Distillery is located 60 miles north of Helsinki in the city of Lahti. Now, any Finnish speakers out there, anybody from Finland, I apologise profusely for my pronunciation.
Well, I'm not putting it on screen because I can't spell it. I will do the voice. Helgamiga Algoeagle whiskey. There you go.
Aye. Now, at the Whiskey Medals, the distillery won 6 whiskey medals, including 2 golds for its Savo and Kulo bottlings. Now, the Kulo's a lightly peated sherry cask finished 7-year-old, and it scored 98 out of 100. So we have to say, that's hitting heavy. Now, a lot of the awards, I sometimes I can take them with a little pinch of salt sometimes, but the fact that it was awarded Whiskey Producer of the Year, it only was established in 2002, although they opened a new distillery in 2015. But the fact that they're now hitting at that level kind of tells you that they're doing something right,
What do you think it comes down to in Finland? I mean, they're not more widely known for vodka. Is that Finlandia vodka from Finland, is it?
Yeah, well, I think the thing about it is the Nordic countries have really sort of taken this up really quite well, and their climate's going to play a decent part in this. We talked not that long ago about Indian whiskey and the heat, that really it's almost impossible to have an Indian whiskey more than 8 years old. Certainly 12 is probably the maximum that you can have. In Finland, because of the climate, it's probably colder, and that's going to have almost the opposite effect. So the whiskey can kind of stay in the cask for a bit longer, and maybe that's able to draw out certain flavours more out of casks than others. I wouldn't be 100% sure, but whatever it is, they're doing something right. I mean, to receive that level of recognition, they're doing something right. And I think lots and lots of big time producers really need to start taking a lot of this a bit more seriously,
Okay, right. So to go back to the first story, Welsh whiskey does need special status in Finland are coming forward.
Well, I don't think Finland's applying for the PGA category just yet, but you might see Scandinavia saying we want PGA recognition because there's McMyra is Swedish distillery. You have lots of these guys now saying, we want PGA status, we want PGA status. Okay. And does it come down to a region as large as Finland or as small as Wales? Or, where do you start to draw the line here,
I think it's going to be a very difficult one. No,
I think it would be, yeah.
Now, these auctions... Yeah. I mean, we were nearly going around all the shops looking for stuff there before Christmas.
Well, if I'd happened upon a bottle of Middleton 2020, I would have certainly taken it. But I think a lot of people have been sold a bit of a pup. The 2020 bottlings are okay. You might double your money. You might get £200-300, but the £1,000 a bottle was probably a bit beyond what it's actually going to reach. There's lots of them turning up at the auction sites this month. The story I want to tell you about now is whiskey collecting has become, it's actually become almost like unit trusts. People are investing money in bottles of whiskey as a future, a security for the future. It's become really a massive business these days. And whiskey auction and whiskey auction sites have been popping up. And really, that's the main vehicle for people to purchase these bottles. Now, this week it was announced that one of the biggest ones, whiskeyauctioneer.com, has announced sales of over £30 million this year. Now, that's from 17 auctions. They've raised, they've sold 30 million with 100,000 bids a month. Now, that's one site. And now, there's currently an auction going on, and regularly these bottles are topping 40,000, 50,000 pounds. That's the most expensive bottling there. But you can go on and find bottles from long lost distilleries. You can find bottles of bourbon. They have specialist auctions for the likes of Glenfiddich or private collection bottles or private collection auctions. So there's a real thirst for this. Now, Irish whiskey auctions have appeared as well. So Irish whiskey auctions, the Celtic whiskey auctions. And I kind of like the fact that the Irish ones always seem to be doing some stuff for charity. So, number one of a limited bottling, what they'll do is the company will donate it to the auction. It'll be auctioned off, and the proceeds going towards a charity. And we'll be talking about that to Brendan as well, about something that he has done. That'll come up a bit more. So all of these auction sites, it shows you now the real thirst there is for this style of collecting. But that leads me on to my next story, which is one thing you have to be aware of. We talked last week about Spain, there being a massive counterfeit whiskey operation being caught in Operation Foucault. Now, obviously, if you're able to copy, I don't know, the likes of Johnny Walker or Glenfiddich or whatever, if there's bottles being sold about for 10,000, 20,000 pounds, it's a lot more tempting to copy those. And this has become a major issue. So this week it was announced that the University of Glasgow has signed a deal with a company called Everledger. It makes tamper-proof caps and uses blockchain technology, which I know you know an awful lot more about blockchain than I do. I don't really understand it, if I'm totally honest. But what they've done is they've set up a way of radiocarbon dating the whiskey to find out if it's the age that it says it is and how long it was in the cask. Now, this is the first verifiable, proven technology. So this is a 19-year-old whiskey. Now, Bowmore's a reputable company. To try this out, they'll be able to say, look, that's 19 years old, and that's when it was bottled. The SUERC, the Scottish University's Environmental Research Centre, in 2018 tested 55 rare bottles and found out that 21 were either fake or not distilled in the year that they stated. Right? So Gordon Cook of the SUERC said, "We're proud to be able to provide the first fully secure whiskey age verification service in the world with the support of Everledger." Now, for most people, this isn't going to be an issue. It's not going to, I'm not going to be rushing to buy a £20,000 bottle of whiskey. But if you think about it, there's lots of people collecting bottles of Middleton Very Rare these days and willing to pay £400, £500, £600, which lots of people I know would pay that. And you just have to be a little bit careful, because even at £500, £600, £700, you can buy an empty bottle on eBay for about for £10, £20. Fill it with any oil spirit you want, and as long as you can get it sealed, you can sell it. So if you got offered cheap whiskey, really of any kind, my advice would be just to give it a swerve.
Yeah, probably the best bet, because
it's probably the best.
There's a lot of people people out there that are up to no good.
Well, if you got offered a whiskey that if you were buying it at auction, would set you back £2,000-3,000, and somebody offers you it for 700, you might think you're getting a bargain, but for 700, there's an awful lot of a markup if you buy an old bottle of Coal Rain, bung it in a Middleton very rare bottle and get it resealed. It's only cost you £30 and you can sell it for 700. There's a lot of temptation there, you know. So I would be prone to say you're going to get what you pay for, you know.
So it's that time of the week where we speak to our special guest. We've a really good guy tonight. Also a wee bit of a mover and a shaker.
He's one of the most passionate. He's a really, really, really nice guy who just loves whiskey. And as he explains in the interview, he wanted to taste these wonderful whiskies and didn't think he was getting them anywhere, so set up his own distillery.
Okay, here we go.
Business professional.
There's the man himself, Marty McCauley. And, well, who's this time, Marty? Are we having a virtual drinks party before Christmas?
Oh, yes. This is to celebrate Christmas. Actually, it's to celebrate the end of 2020. I'm going to clear my drinks cabinet. That's how much I'm looking forward to getting rid of this year. But no, we are joined by possibly the most passionate man in Irish whiskey. He sort of burst onto the Irish whiskey scene really, I suppose at the tail end of last year, really, when I heard about him. And he's made, for such a tiny place, he's made huge waves. And it's the one and only Brendan Carty. Brendan, welcome.
Thanks very much, boys. Pleasure to be here. We really enjoy your content, enjoy the crack on your shows. So thanks for having me. And thanks for being such a good supporter, Marty. You've always been there from the start. Appreciate that.
Buddy, honestly, I had the chance of going down to see Brendan last year. Drove down, and you're driving and you think, am I in the right place? As this distillery? And it's this tiny little building. And just whenever you go into it, just these little stills sit at the back, and it's almost like you can't believe, is this actually all there is to it? Is this how small it is? But when you see what's going on, it's remarkable. So how did it come about? How did you? Because I know you're a trained architect. So how did you make the jump from being an architect, very safe, secure job, to what you're doing now?
Maybe it was involved in building the Scottish Parliament. Maybe he's that kind of architect. It went 15 million over budget. And
that was the Spanish architect, Enrique Morales, I think, done that one. So you blame the Spaniards there. But,
he had a good Christmas that year.
He did indeed. God rest him. So anyway, being an architect isn't actually a secure job, as people might think. There's a lot of stress, and the cash flow is probably worse than it is with making whiskey. So that might have been one of the first factors. But during the last recession, architects are always the first people to die off, and they're the last people to come back, believe it or not. Whenever the architects profession, I had just become chartered and had to move overseas looking for work, and I was over in Australia, and I was tasting some beautiful whiskies in Australia. I was in a little whiskey tasting club, the Oak Barrel in Sydney, and we were tasting some 2-year-old whiskey that I thought was phenomenal, just as good as the best that we offer here. And this was from Belgrove Distillery down in Tasmania. So I went down to Belgrove and met Peter Bignell, the distiller. His setup is half the size of ours. Wow. He's a farmer, a scientist, and he's a brilliant distiller. And he was telling me about, the old Irish mash bills and how Irish used to make pot still whiskey differently than they do today. And this was just at the same time when Fionnán O'Connor was, singing and dancing about this too. So as everybody in Australia does, they have to come home for weddings and funerals, and there just happened to be quite a few that year. And every time I was home, I went down and was listening to Fionnán O'Connor talking. And what he was saying was resonating with what Peter from Belgrove was saying. So these two ideals were at the forefront of my mind, and all I bloody wanted to do was taste some more of this whiskey. It doesn't exist anymore. And basically the key to that was old school mash bills, which are Irish whiskey recipes. So old school recipes. And so we'll get on to that later, I suppose. That's the idea. I just wanted to make, and because there was none of that whiskey to drink, I decided I had to make it. So that's the idea. Open your own distillery.
Yeah. It's a bit of a leap to go from I really want to taste this to get my own distillery up and running. Now, how did you get the backing, or how did you get the set up?
Yeah.
Don't be showing that one, Justin. That's for later, buddy.
So the thing about setting up a distillery is it is expensive, even for Ireland's smallest like ourselves. Irish whiskey is it's expensive to make, especially at our small scale. Efficiencies aren't big in terms of the yield coming out of barleys. There's wages, there's storage, there's huge insurance costs. The admin is massive as well because everything's governed by revenue. You're taking care of their alcohol, which is their money, until it's sold to the market. They get their pay from it. So we're taking care of that. It's a bond. So it's quite admin heavy, and that's just on top of normal business procedures. So we did have to get business professional. We had to get that etiquette behind us. So luckily, Liam Brogan and Shane McCarthy are co-founders of Killowen Distillery. Shane McCarthy had founded the Iron Craft Beverages 7 years ago. Himself and Liam. And the two guys, they know their stuff when it comes to Irish whiskey and Irish beer. They know their stuff when it comes to the beer markets and exports. And Liam's also a chartered accountant, and Shane's a recovered finance whatever person from Wall Street.
Yeah, so they know the money.
They know the crack when it comes to business, and they know the crack about the industry. I just this absolute headstrong tunnel vision of making proper pot still whiskey. And whenever the three came together, it just created quite an effective model. We're still here today, and we're going to make a lot more noise in the future, which is good.
Yeah. I can see that coming. I can see that coming a mile away. Now, the first things that you've released, I mean, you've released your poaching and your gins. Now, I will just say your poaching, I think, is fabulous. It's just, wow. It's full of flavour. And you pride yourself on releasing stuff basically as you get it. It's not filtered and it's not coloured, or there's nothing really diluted even, and yet your poaching is sitting at 60%, and you could drink it neat. It's absolutely wonderful stuff. Now, the experimental cask range, which is all of these, I have all of them, and they are sort of the weird and the wonderful in some ways. This is the tequila cask. So how did this come about?
Yeah, the tequila cask, it's funny. I don't have any of it left in my own personal bottles because I drank it all. I don't know what it was. I think it was around the start of the lockdown period, and I think things were getting pretty stressful or whatever, but I just really enjoyed it. It had a nice balance of those earthy notes in there as well, and just devoured it. But I suppose the idea about that bonded experimental series was at the beginning of last year, the Irish whiskey scene was very different than it is today. There wasn't as many cask strength bottlings. There wasn't as many integrity bottlings as we're trying to put forward. Non-filtered. I suppose we're always going that extra mile, but that's starting to come out to the fore now. And we were, I suppose, a bit ahead of the curve. We weren't the first, of course. There were cask strengths before us, but I think we just really wanted to push that, and we're trying to guide. We're trying to push the Killowen in the direction that we think the Irish whiskey industry should go. And that's because we are whiskey consumers. We know what whiskey consumers want, because whenever we try to cater for the public, it's easy. We don't have to do market research. We're basically catering for ourselves. So what the hell do I want to drink as a whiskey consumer, and it just seems to resonate, luckily, with what people want. So, so what we did was we got the same blend here with the whiskey that was available to us. So the whiskey available to us wasn't a lot. We did approach the big guys, and they didn't even entertain us. So what we did was we went and got from Great Northern Distillery, and they got us some 10-year-old that was originally distilled in Cooley. It was a 95% to 5%, grain to malt ratio. And for us, we just wanted a lot more malt in there, a lot more of those oily biscuity notes you get from real good malt. And so we went and asked the malt distilleries. We said, no, Luckily, Acklandville Distillery were very decent, and they provided us with malt without pulling the absolute arm off us, for financially. So it made this project actually feasible, and we're very, indebted and very grateful to Acklandville for that as well. So that good camaraderie amongst the distilleries is good.
Yeah. And I mean, they're wonderful people down there. They are just as nice as they can be. This was the first one, the Dark Rum Cask. I think this is absolutely wonderful. But then you've brought out your own rum.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the rum was great. So I don't think Ireland has ever produced a dark rum from start to finish. There are dark rums out there, but I think they're spiced rums, or else they're bought in product as well, and spiced and further cast.
Marty, why didn't you tell me about this, that they've done their own rum? You know, dark rum is my favorite drink.
I mean, you...
Justin, he was afraid you're going to drink it.
Everything. I would be afraid Justin would drink it. He'd put it in, I don't know, some weird Spanish cocktail. So he would.
And that photo you can see there was taken down in Warm Point Harbour. So I was trying to find somewhere to take photos, and wintertime doesn't have good light, and you need to take photos, with good daylight. And so we had to take it outside, and this is actually a morning sunrise. So it looks like it's a bit in the middle of the summer or something, but it's just that lovely warm light first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
A few seconds later, it was absolutely freezing. And so luckily I got it. I took that photo the day of the release, and like all of the taste notes, I sent out the press release too late. I was also drinking it while I was writing the tasting notes, so it was always infamous for typos in the press releases. So any of the influencers or anybody who gets our information are just going, right, we'll just wait for the next email with the corrections.
version 2, possibly 3.
Oh, without doubt, I know. And I keep kicking myself, but it's all right at the time because you have a few drinks and you don't care. But then the next day you're like, oh, what did I do? It's whenever you get a chance to actually sit down and taste the produce, it's.
But the rum is packed full of flavour. It's as good as any rum on the market. Within reason, obviously. And the fact that there's an Irish rum, I mean, how much more difficult is it to make a rum than a whiskey or I mean, say the difference between a gin, a whiskey, and a rum. What's the difference?
Is it made with sugar beet, Brendan? Is that made with sugar beet, that rum?
It is made with sugar, but not with sugar beet.
Right.
I'm not even entirely sure you're allowed. You would probably are allowed to make sugar beet, but I don't think you are. But what we've actually done, Marty, you were talking about, if it's more difficult as well. It's difficult in a way, but mashing grain, breaking up grain, mixing it in and stirring it is labor intensive. And at Killowen we use no mechanization, everything done by hand. So that's difficult. Yeah. But with this, all you have to do is mix, hot water and your mixture for your rum. This rum, we pride ourselves on being 50-50, which is 50% molasses, 50% sugar. And there's a huge snobbery that's going to be introduced into rum from particular distillers over the next few months to 1 year, saying that molasses should not be used in rum. There's actually a particular arrogance, especially when you go to nations and try to, enforce that opinion. But people who have been making rum for generations, molasses is a massive, significant component of rum. And for us, we made it 50%. Molasses is expensive. Molasses is a byproduct of the sugar industry, and it was less expensive. But nowadays, molasses is bloody expensive. Molasses that we're buying in is over twice the price of the sugar. And it really hurts us financially, to go and buy this molasses and mix it with the sugar. But we would be far safer if we pulled it back to 10%. But we're taking, it actually ends up being a more expensive product. And you'll notice when you taste our rum, you're getting a smack in the mouth of molasses. It's like treacle on toast and gingerbread with butter in there too. It's, you know what I mean? You're getting treacle molasses, licorice, massive.
And it has that real depth of flavour. That really, and I think with your rum, some rums are quite sweet, whereas yours is that depth of flavour that takes it way on past that. It's sweet, but not thick, not saccharine sweet, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Cheers. It is balanced out enough too, and we actually kind of experimented in getting real fast aging with this rum. So what we done was we created this Solera method, which worked well for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a tower of casks. We got 50-litre firkins. So if you use a big cask, it's a slower aging process. If you use a smaller cask, it's a faster aging process. So if you're sticking your rum into a small cask, it ages faster. But we didn't just put this in at 64% like you would with a whiskey. You dilute it to 64 and put it in a cask in case it's too aggressive. We stuck this in at 69, 70% alcohol into these small casks, but they were already used for the bourbon industry, and then they were used here, and then they were cut down and reflamed. So we knew that whenever they were eating it, it wouldn't be too aggressive in terms of wood spice. So, but it got stuck into the wood, and we moved its way down. And then after it got through those 6 firkins, so top 2, second 2, and then the next 2. After it goes through those firkins, it jumps then into Pinot Noir casks, and then it finishes itself off in a PX sherry cask. And that PX sherry really rounds off the flavour, and the Pinot Noir gives it a lovely fruity, punchy note as well. So this combination of casks was a whole big experiment, and it is a huge risk. Things might go wrong, but thankfully it turned out nice, and we're real proud of it. Things might go wrong, but thankfully it turned out nice, and we're real proud of it. So there's no age statement on it just because it's not a year old yet, and we're fully transparent about that.
Yeah.
We can't compete with the big guys. We can't mass produce and sell, cheap spirits. Everything we do, it tends to go out at a premium price because it's so expensive to make in-house and the running costs of a small distillery. So 600 of these were released, and we give the lion's share to the home market. So they'll be distributed into local shops only by the looks of it. So there's about 100 of these left in circulation, and they'll only be going to some of the northern off licenses by the looks of it. And so they're being distributed through Anzac, and Celtic Whisky Shop in the Republic have the rest of it. So I think there's a bit out in Germany as well with Marika Switzer. Forgot about that. Yeah, through Irish Whiskies DE. So I think these are the only stuff of ours right now that are probably on the market. All of the rest of our whiskies are sold out, unfortunately.
Wow,
they'll sell out really quickly. As I say, the dark rum. We have the Pinot Noir experimental cask series here. I have the Chicalina, which I had to Google to find out how you pronounce that because it's but I mean, this I keep telling people that this is the cask strength sort of flagship for me, because this takes huge amounts of water until it gets to where it really opens up and you get the benefit of it. And it's I've told Justin and some of the other people that watch the show every week, the point of cask strength is you experiment till you can get it to where you want it to be, and to what you think you get the most out of it. But that for me it takes so much water that you almost think, I'm going to overdo this, I'm going to overdo it, and then you just get it at the right point, and it just totally transforms. It becomes something totally different,
Is there any other sort of spirit, Brendan, that you'd like to try to make if you could?
Yeah, a big aim. A spirit, but a big aim of Killowen is to premiumize poaching. Right. I think there's massive, like the Glens of Antrim, have a huge, relationship with making poaching as well.
Wouldn't know anything about that.
I think you guys know more about it than you let on.
Wouldn't know anything about that.
But there's also, although there wasn't a huge amount of arrests recorded in the past, like we all know from our parents and even ourselves about a lot of it being made in the Warrens as well. And I think it's a huge part of who we are. And there's so much legs if Board B and maybe Tourism and I as well, or sorry, the food in Northern Ireland were to get behind it and really push poaching. I think there's another category there for us to enjoy and celebrate worldwide. And poaching, it doesn't need to be aged just as long.
I think so.
So we are working on that. And in the new year, in the wee months of the new year, we'll get something. You'll enjoy the next stuff, Marty. We've done something to represent different parts of the island, and it'll be coming out in January, hopefully. It'll be good fun.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Now, the one thing I show people in the bottles, and I'm trying to find one that has the most in it. Brendan basically just lifts this straight out of the cask and puts it in a bottle. Now, you sometimes can see little bits of the char floating about. I'm trying to find the one with the most in it, because you get bits of wood.
The rum, I think, was probably... The rum might have had a bit too much, which we've heard back since then. So that's the rum. It's definitely...
It's hard to see on camera, but we get the idea, yeah.
It's good for this time of the year. It's like a Christmas snow globe with...
Listen, if you want Christmas...
It's like a snow globe.
I can do Christmas snow globe. If you want Christmas snow, there's Christmas snow falling on the screen.
Oh, lovely.
That's all we need. You know?
Can you turn that black and we can pretend it's Killowen char globe?
Black snow. Like
no. That would just be coming from the power station near us. That would be black snow.
Right. You're almost... There's only one more of the experimental cask releases, isn't there?
There actually is, yeah. And oops. There actually is, yeah. And oops. It's right here. I better turn that around. Hopefully nobody rewinds and gets a look at that.
Oh, we've seen it. We've had an exclusive. It's sitting on the shelf.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's right here. And
right.
So this is the back of the bottle. Hopefully it doesn't say anything about... Yeah, so just cover you. But I'll just show you, like all of the bottles, we printed the same label again. You know, the label that we were forced to hide some of our information. So we just printed the same labels again, and again continued that Sharpie culture. Sharpie culture is now a part of Killowen. So as a protest, if there's something that we think should be on a bottle, we'll print it on the bottle and remove it if we have to.
There you go.
That's me looking at a part-time job with us.
Yeah. It's called redacted. It's been redacted. There you go. Redacted. How many Sharpies would you like? I've hundreds of them.
We keep them in business.
I just held up the bottle there. The unredacted version, just in case anybody's wondering what's below the black lines, you know. Yes. Yeah. No. So why did you have to redact that? Why did you have to mark that out?
I think that there's been a few attacks at Killowen from certain organisations claiming to, protect the industry, and it's been quite hurtful for us, to be honest. You know, it does interrupt business. We also wanted to produce another product for Christmas, so we ended up we're going to be pushing 2 products now to January, because it takes up a lot of your time and admin, and the local environmental health officer is getting to know us very well too, and he comes in quite apologetically, knowing that there's some ridiculous measures being pushed, just firing warning shots over the bow, going straight to be it HMRC or to DEIRFRA in London, who then report to DEIRA in Northern Ireland. Petty actions, but it's unfortunate that it's come to this whenever everything we do has the Irish whiskey industry's best intentions at heart. Nothing short of integrity is what we're asking for, and this is what a phone call sometimes directly to yourselves would have been much more, convenient instead of. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. It's Christmas time, so it's time for Christmas jumpers and cheer. So
Christmas time.
Marty, I've got to cut this guy off. He's got a Christmas jumper on. He didn't tell us.
He's got a Christmas jumper on. Now, you and a couple other W.D. O'Connell, J.J. Corey, Blackwater Distillery, you've banded together now to form the Irish Whiskey Guild. So what's the purpose of that?
Right.
What do you see doing with that?
It's a very interesting because it's a very interesting because Louise at JJ and Dahi at W.D. O'Connell, those are 2 whiskey bonders that are producing lovely bonded whiskey. It's brilliant to see whiskey bonding come back into the industry. And then there's Peter Mulryan.
Exactly.
And then there's also ourselves, who are 2 distillers who are focused on, making Irish whiskey the way it was made whenever it was the whiskey of choice around the world before the massive growth of Scotch that filled in the Irish whiskey void. So Irish whiskey was doing something differently then. That was something really interesting. So the 2 cores at heart of the guild are about protecting the interests as well, of small independent consumers, but also protecting the interests of the industry, because a lot of it's about empowering the consumer as well. And I think we need to understand now that Irish whiskey is not competing against itself. It's not competing against Scotch. World whiskey is growing, and it's offering something very unique to consumers. And people are buying world whiskies more than they're buying Irish and Scotch, and that's a growing market. And we're looking at it all wrong here, which is brilliant. But they're offering something that we can't offer because we've got ridiculous legislation that's written by particular bodies that are influenced by other particular bodies, and it's nothing short of corruption. And unfortunately, we're biting ourselves in the backsides here. We were just going to go around and go into the same mistakes that we did do whenever Irish whiskey collapsed, the last time. So we need to focus on sustainability of the industry. And unfortunately, these young Turks that are seen as upstarts, we're actually the answer. We're the answer to sustainability going forward in the Irish whiskey industry. Unfortunately, we have to take these matters into our own hands. So we've created an organisation that's respectful of any other organisations, and is also very welcoming to other craft industry producers. And we're going to try and influence the government organisations, the powers that be, just to educate them, because sometimes they just need education. Instead of outsourcing work, we can influence the likes of the Department of Agriculture in the Republic of the other points of view and of the sustainability issues in Irish whiskey. That's the way I see it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that they're so flexible when it came to things like hand gel.
Aye. We are indeed. Did you get any, Justin?
I did. I've actually tasted some of the hand gel by mistake, and when you do, you've drunk something you shouldn't. When you put it in your hand like that there, and you wipe your face. But listen, you were in the act with the hand gel as well. I mean, has that stopped now? Has it?
It did indeed. It's a funny one. At the start, my wife is actually she gives up a lot of her spare time for the NHS. She understands the legal aspects of the NHS and the structures of it, and it's trying to be coped by certain political parties. So she's trying to get in there and support it, and there's a lack of funding, and they're trying to close down certain hospitals, and she tries to keep them going. So her family are very involved with the NHS as well, mother, sisters, doctors and nurses. So that sort of just encouraged me to try and help out wherever possible as well. And I was well aware of severe lack of PPE. So what we did was we just produced tons of it, and we ended up taking it up to Craigavon and giving it to them so they could distribute it to the Southern Trust. We also drove a lot to Belfast and dropped it up to different charities too. But then we had to sell some at the same time to keep this thing going. So we felt bad about, you don't want to profiteer off crisis. So we made sure to give away as much as was physically possible. So we drove huge amounts of it here and there and everywhere ourselves. But it wasn't just us. This is something that everybody across the distilling industry was doing. Acklandville were doing it themselves as well, giving out copious amounts of sanitizer. And when we fell short of sanitizer for our distribution, Acklandville were helping us out too. So that was the idea there.
Okay, lovely stuff. Marty, what did I show earlier on that you didn't want me to show?
Do we get there yet?
This week there's been a charity auction. It's been going on for a period of time. The Friends of Middleton Distillery have asked some guys to put up bottles that they can auction off for the Capuchin Day Centre. I'm correct, but that's right, isn't it?
That's right.
There's Brendan
anonymous. Yeah.
Brendan put up a bottle.
That's a one of one. You go, Marty.
Do you want to put the picture up again? Put the picture up again, Justin. So this is a unique bottling. This is your own spirit. I'm right in saying that this is the first whiskey that you've actually released, is that?
You're right in a way, but it's not whiskey. In order to be whiskey, it has to be 3 years old. So this is not yet whiskey. So the response that this bottle is getting for not yet being a whiskey is just phenomenal. But you're right, this is the first time we've released something that will, go on to be a whiskey. This isn't pot still whiskey in any way. This isn't single malt in any way. This is an expression of Killowen's personality. This is 90% rye 10% barley, and that 10% wasn't even milled up into it. That 10% was actually put in there to try and give a bit of buoyancy. It was put in as whole grain to try and give a bit of buoyancy and to what ended up being a very sticky mash that was impossible to work with. So it was great just to get it done. But I need to say something about this as well, because the guy holding the bottle in that photograph is a gentleman who goes by an anonymous name of...
Is it Banksy? Is it Banksy?
It's Banksy. Yeah, we're just going to call him Banksy. He set up the page. Yeah, and he does a huge amount of charity work for this charity, for the Capuchin, and they're an amazing organisation. The work they do for the homeless, the amount of bags of food and food portions that they give out daily, and they provide a day centre for people just to come and relax and rest. It's very dangerous for people to sleep at night in hostels in Dublin. There's a massive housing crisis there, and John McDougall is doing huge work. So we were delighted to make something special for this fundraiser. So we released this one, 2-year-old lightly peated rye. We were trying to peat the rye on site ourselves in our little smokehouse. Difficult job of making it. It was a huge learning curve. We broke a few paddles as well, mixing this stuff up. It was impossible to mix. We trusted a barrel provider as well to give us these lovely casks from France, these Neoc casks that we asked them to be a little bit more heavily charred. Unfortunately, they weren't. We put it in. It was very aggressive. We took it out, and we ended up, it's coming back around now in these lovely 120-litre bourbon casks. So it's been in Pinot Noir casks, and now it's in Burgundy now it's in bourbon casks, and you can see the colour of it. It's gorgeous stuff. It's really nice. I'm
going to show my ignorance, right? Okay, and Marty's going to tell me off. If you wait a year, is that a whiskey then?
That's right. If you wait a year, that's a whiskey. Right now,
even though it's in a glass bottle and it's not in a barrel, it becomes a whiskey 1 year later. Could you not do some sort of fancy time release?
No, if you don't invest,
you're bound to be able to
6 months you haven't invested.
It needs to be in the wood.
Listen, you can get
it
one
needs
of
to
these.
be in the wood.
After a year.
It has to be in the cask.
It needs to be in the wood for 3 years.
We talk about this every week. You've never listened.
It's a learning show. It's a learning show. I'm not pretending to be stupid. I know nothing about it.
You haven't learned anything.
Justin's the layman.
It's not a learning show. You haven't learned anything.
Yeah.
Just the early ways.
I know the listeners know.
I just drink the stuff. Here, as long as I live longer, I don't mind.
Yeah, we are baffled.
It's a preservative.
Yeah. We're baffled at what this is. This is going for €1,200 already. It's going to charity, and all we did was pay duty on it. You know, it's fantastic. I broke a few paddles and a few backs and a few fights, and you know. But
it's good. You do tours down at the distillery. Obviously, it's COVID, and you had COVID yourself. You actually had it, didn't you?
That's right. I did, yeah. I had it there in October. It does. It takes it out of you. You do feel it, and no matter how hard you try not to get, sometimes as soon as you take your attention off, you can get it. But it's if anybody does get it, just don't panic. Just wait through. Parents had it; they're elderly as well, and they seem that they're okay now as well. It's just unfortunate that. Just take care of yourself. It's just fortunate that it hits the random people in the wrong way. So we just need to take care of each other.
Just a quick legal question from the legal department that spoke in my ear. Brendan, if you keel over between now and we put this out on Saturday night, can we still put it out? Can we?
Indeed, by all means.
Thank you very much. You're looking mighty well for a man that has coronavirus.
It's a few weeks back now.
Oh, it was back in October. Now, the distillery tours, obviously, that's at the minute. But if someone comes to the Killowen distillery, what do they do on the tour? What do you give them?
So they're off now, as you said, for the COVID. But when people come in, they just get a really warm welcome. They get taught what we're doing. And that's one room of the 3 rooms. You can talk through the process. We explain the science of it. When you go to larger distilleries, things are a bit daunting. You see steam coming out of here, a lot of machinery and equipment. You don't actually leave understanding what the hell's going on. So whenever you're here,
because you always have a few samples at the end.
That's it too, and then you forget. But you get that with us as well. But what we actually do, Justin, is you talk people through the 3 stages: the hot water, the mash tun, show them the wort, show them after the fermentation when you get your beer. You know, your wash that goes into the stills. So the stills are usually running when people arrive anyway. So you show the 2 stills, and you can taste what's coming off the stills if you're there at hearts time. And then you understand the science of it.
You can also
basically
smell what's coming off the still.
You're making beer. You smell it too. Indeed, and you can smell the cuts, the different stage that it's at. And then we can just explain after that then the uniqueness of what we're doing, like the worm tubs and the flame fed, things like that, and take them through, sit them down, show them the casks, explain what different casks do, what different wood does from different parts of the world, and then sit them down, let them taste it, and have a conversation. Then we finish off with a cup of tea or coffee, just so people are relaxed. And you know, it's just a bit of fun and getting to know people. We like getting to meet people as well and understand, you know, just what sort of people enjoy Killowen, and it's nice to make friends. So you get a warm welcome.
And you do. I've had the pleasure of going down, and when all of this is all over and we get back to some sort of normality, me and Justin will come down a run, and we'll do a wee bit of filming down there. I cannot recommend. Pretty much everything Killowen do is superb, from the rum, the poaching. If you haven't tried it, get a bottle of it. It's amazing. These are bottled in and around 55% alcohol. You can work with them. You can do everything with these things. You know, to play with them. You can drink them straight. I couldn't recommend you highly enough. That's the truth. And I love your passion. The passion you have for what you do is fabulous.
Cheers, Marty. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the crack. It does help as well. People can see, you know, that we do mean what we say. You know, we're trying for the betterment of the industry, and we think that's the way to go. But yeah, the key thing is more oats, more rye, and more wheat in your pot still mash bills. And it might be hurtful to some people, but it's the truth.
Brendan,
I just want to ask
one
more question.
Head on.
Marty, can I ask him one more question? Who does the marketing for the bottles? Because you go down the simple, clear, normal, standard bottle route rather than going for fancy presentation or ornate bottle, but yet your product still manages to stand out dramatically. Is that your architecture coming through, is it?
I think it's just good design as well. But we wanted something that was different. There was a lot of round circular bottles out there, so we went for those hip flask style bottles. I think they're a nod, especially with the patching, they're a nod to, you know, drinks of the past.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think they're just very approachable. It's very minimalistic. For us as well, it's not about packaging as well as about what's in the bottle. So we went for something simplistic and minimalistic. And instead of, you know, we're going with the logo, we tried to move away from that logo idea and just have information on the label. So there's no logo yet. Killowen might very well have a logo going forward, but right now it doesn't. And the label themselves just have information on them. And it's working so far. So it's about empowerment of the consumer for all of our liquids. Be it the gin, the poaching, you get to see the mash bill, you get to see the details of the you know, the botanicals that are in the gin, for instance. As much information as possible for the whiskey. So that's it. There was a bit more then. Now it's good to follow that journey along. But going forward, there's going to be some very interesting things next year. Today, we're bottling some poachings today that we think are going to blow people away. These poachings that we're bottling, I think, it's very interesting. You know, 10-week old poaching. You're allowed to put poaching in wood for 10 weeks, but the same gobshites that got involved with different technical files have also created rules in this one. You're not allowed to mention cask anywhere on your bottle, so you can say wood rested for 10 weeks. So Don't ask me why, but yeah. So that's been an expensive learning curve so far.
Yeah, it's. I think as the industry sort of tries to find its feet a bit, it does need. I think it does need a sort of stable base, but the young Turks, as you say, do need to shake things up too. That's for the likes of yourself comes in, Brendan. I love your passion. I've said before,
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely marvelous at what you do, and just say I wish you a happy Christmas. And this will be going out on Boxing Day. So
Very good.
I will without question have a Killowen on Christmas Day. Without question, I'll have a Killowen on Christmas Day.
Thank you very much, Marty. Thank you. That's wonderful. I really appreciate it. Cheers, Nick.
Thank you very much, mate.
Good man.
All the best. Take care, mate. Bye.
Right, Justin. All right, Marty.
Bye. Oh, cool, Marty. What a show. What a man. What a legend.
He's a great fella. He really is. He's one of those guys you could talk to for a very, very long time. He's got such passion for whiskey that it just spills out, and it's infectious. Anyone with passion is infectious. I love it. What he does, the bottlings that they've released so far, speak for themselves. They're super, and there's a lot more to come from them. There really is. So don't forget, support them. Always look after your own.
There you go. Jamie Cotter saying, didn't realize it was recorded. It's the magic of radio and television and the internet. It's not real. It's fake news.
Put it like this, Jamie. What would be the chances of getting Brendan on sober on any Saturday night? Never mind Boxing night. So we weren't
probably none.
We were just, let's just say we were hedging our bets. We were trying to cover ourselves to make sure Brendan could enjoy Christmas in the spirit in which it was intended, Justin,
Yes, in total lockdown isolation, it's like being in Alaska or Canada in the woods. You can't go out in case the invisible gets you.
In case Arlene and Michelle come around and pick us up, Right, Justin, I've got an empty glass, my friend. So I need you to tot up which one of these I'm opening.
Right, well, I'm going to read it out to you. Okay, so we asked the question earlier on tonight, which one should Marty open? A Bowmore, B, Writer's Tears, C, Irish Reserve, or D, Bushmills 1608. So you get a pen and mark them down here. You don't have a pen. You do.
Justin, I always have a pen.
I thought you had that Sharpie I sent you for Christmas. Here we go.
No, Brendan took it.
We've got two C's, right?
Two C's.
Another C.
Right.
One B.
Right.
One D Bushmills.
Right.
One for the 26-year-old.
Was that C? That was C, wasn't it?
I think it was C, yeah. Writer's Tears, 26-year-old, yeah. Let me see. B, another one for B.
Right.
I'm having to read down this list, and there's quite a few, and there's loads popping in now. Now that we've paused the question again. D, says Trevor Watson.
A D, right?
Yeah, D, says Trevor Watson. Killowen actually must have been watching tonight himself. Yeah, so he could have joined us. Was A. Jamie Cotter says E.
E.
Hinch.
That must be a hinch. Hinch Peter.
There's no hinch. No. One D from Michael Masters. So another D.
Another D from Michael.
Here's a name I haven't heard before. John James Brangs wants an A. Right. This is the question we posed. Which one should Marty open? A, Writer's Tears.
No. A, Bowmore. A, Bowmore. B, Writer's Tears.
C, Irish Reserve. Or D, 1608. We've got another D from Shane Foley.
Right.
Let me see. There's some more here. There definitely is some more. No, that's it. There's lots more questions in. Brenton Carty says he's half sober now. There you go.
It's getting late. It's getting late. It's getting near his bedtime.
It's amount of food. Shane Foley, he's learned so much since the Irish Whiskey Show, since I started to watch this show. Tell your friends, comment, like, and share, and like us on YouTube, Irish Whiskey Review. I think that's. We've one more day from Brenton Carty.
Oh, Brendan just come in there. So we have a winner, Justin.
Trump borrowed the Sharpie. We have a winner. What is the winner? Was it the Bushmills? It was the Bushmills. Very good.
Bushmills. With this coming in second, this is an Aldi release, a 26-year-old, and it was €40. I mean, which goes to show you just that there's some amazing bargains if you really look out for them. You know.
There is indeed. You're about to open it and you're going to pour it here.
I am indeed. Now, this is in celebration of the end of 2020. 2020 has been just the worst year for everybody ever. So our next show is in 2021.
I had a worse year, Marty.
You had a what?
I had a worse year.
When?
It was that year that Vulcan blew up and I had to have my ears done and my eyes done to fit in planet Earth.
Oh, well, the cosmetic surgery turned out well for you.
We had another day from Stanley there.
Stanley, good man.
Marty's saying, let's get something sorted. Let you get down to Hinch. Maybe get on this some night. There you go. They're getting
yes.
They're getting anxious. Jamie, we have viewers compared to other shows. Remember that?
Now, don't be rubbing salt in the wind, because what will happen is in a couple of weeks' time, somebody will be doing something similar. We've seen this before, Justin.
Yeah.
We bring in the news feature, and suddenly there's a couple other news features pop up in other shows.
It won't be salt. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Now.
It'll be hydrogen peroxide. Now. Let me see. Hinge peated. There we go. Hinge
peated is awesome. I totally agree. Hinge peated, I think I'm wanting maybe my third bottle of it. It's fabulous. Really good value for money. Really nicely peated. It's really, really good. Really good. I know a couple of other people are big fans of it as well.
Mark, we do need a news jingle. We might premiere one in 2021 because Marty got a lot of new stuff here tonight. He got a lot of new stuff. Are you on?
My son bought me this. I'm not on it yet because I made a bit of a Horlicks of it before Justin came on. But only got it yesterday, and well, I was slightly celebratory yesterday, so I maybe didn't familiarise myself with it as quickly as I should. You're
in the market for a glamorous assistant as well. I hear that's the latest, isn't it? Yeah.
Always just listen. I have a glamorous assistant in yourself. What more could I want? You are my Debbie McGee.
At least I'm still alive. That's great. I'll take that.
Oh, no.
Marty may soon be doing the BBC News. Well, he could do a better job. Let me see. Michael Matthews says RTFM. I don't know what that means. What does that mean in internet slang? Go out and stop a 12-year-old that's drinking in the street, Marty, and ask them what RTFM means. Radio, television, RTE? I don't know. No idea. Michael, translate that for us. Trevor Watson is saying he got a hench for Christmas.
Oh, which one?
Which hench did you get for Christmas, Trevor? Stanley Song is saying, I need a taste of the 1608. There you go. Yeah, we're coming for Valentine's night in February, Stanley. We're coming for Valentine's night. I want the banquet with the revolving table. Yeah. And a few of the Me Love You Long Time girls as well. Justin is on the weather. Listen, I would love to do the weather. I auditioned for the weather. Barra Best got it, but he actually burnt my arm in the hot tap on the way out to it, and I didn't even know. I had to go to A&E afterwards, but that's another story. Jamie, that is true, by the way. People, Marty will confirm that. No 12-year-olds drinking in the street. It's past 8 p.m. That's right. Nobody's drinking in the street
Oh, they're not. Sure, there's not under curfew. Arlene and Michelle have us locked up. We forgot out in the street. Never mind drinking on it.
Mm,
You know.
yeah. There you go. Let me see. Read the manual. Read the manual. No, he has me. I told him how to do it, but it needs to be in shot. It needs to be close to him. Otherwise, it's very, very accurate. But we will get it sorted. You know, when you get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, they fly you to London and give you a studio and all this sort of thing. But you won't like the thing to even win the coffee. You won't like the thing to even win the coffee. So, you know, we're not going to get the 100,000 on YouTube anytime. Well, we might get it before the end of lockdown, but we won't get it. We won't get it this week. But there you go. If you like us on YouTube, we'll get 200 followers before the new year, and you'll get that there. It's a bribe from Bothy Coffee.
It's really, really nice. It's finished off in a local distillery cask, whiskey cask, and it was roasted and stuff and done in it. It tells you, it's explained. William,
it's smells because there's one of these events on the back of it, and I can smell it. If you could smell this, it actually smells. God, it smells of coffee, but with a wee touch of whiskey. But I suppose I'm drinking whiskey, so I can't really tell. Listen, Trevor Watson says it's the bourbon cask. Okay, the bourbon cask tinge. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, the hinge stuff's really, really good. My favorite is the Pita. I have to say that. But the bourbon cask's really good too.
When are we going to get down in these places, Marty? We're not going to get down for a while yet, are we?
Justin, I'm not supposed to be allowed to go to Carnlough, so how the hell are we going to get to go to the likes of Dingle and Hinch and so on? So these places, that's a distant memory when we were allowed to go places. It's going to be about March before I'm allowed to go to Larne. You know.
We need to get somebody listening to give us the antivirus.
Well,
do we know any? Do we know anybody that could help us get that? We won't mention his name.
Justin, all I'm saying is this: if the stuff that I'm reading on Facebook by the vaccine experts, that this vaccine's full of microchips from Bill Gates that's going to control our brains and 5G.
Well, great, because anything that's made by Microsoft is shit. So I always buy Apple stuff.
Mark Zuckerberg's going to get us kicked off if you keep that up. You're not allowed to profane and say stuff like that. The lizard people, the tinfoil hat brigade's going to get us.
Only buy Apple. Only buy Apple. That's my motto. I've been Apple since 1986, and my uncle kindly sent me a nice computer. So there you go. And I'm even thinking of buying the M1 chip. There you go. There's an advert, and it's not product placement because it's my personal stuff. Now, let me see. Larne should be on lockdown forever.
I always tell people Larne's during the Troubles. There was a bomb warning phoned in for Larne, and when the police got there, they weren't sure if the bomb had went off or not.
That's a terrible joke. Well, we can laugh at ourselves.
No, I know.
Jamie, where do you live? You probably live somewhere posh. Let me. Stanley's song is showing the horror sign. He's showing the Edward Munch face. Yeah. I don't know what does that mean. He doesn't want to give us the banquet, and
he's probably horrified at you. Well, to be fair, that's not a new thing, to be honest.
No, I know he's terrible. Let me see. Thank you, great night. There's his Trevor. Jamie Cutter says smells of coffee. No shit. I mean, Lauren will be looking you. Lauren will be putting complaints into Zuckerberg here. That bomb costs 50 quid worth of improvements. I like Lauren. I bought a couple of nice books in Lauren this year as Christmas present.
All I would say is the one thing about Lauren is if you jump in the ferry, by the time you get to Kern you sort of appreciate the fact that Lauren was there.
These are terrible. I used technically the first 5 years of my life I lived in Larne. I don't know what problem you have with Larne. Larne's all right.
That would explain two things then, wouldn't it?
There you go. Jamie Cutter is saying he lives in Carryduff, 5 minutes from work. At least Larne have a shopping centre. They knocked down the Carryduff shopping centre.
Oh, here we go. We're going to start arriving the viewers. Here we go.
I know. You have to.
But so, this That's 1608. That's really, really nice. That was brought out as a celebration of the 400th anniversary of the being granted the oldest license in the world. Okay. But it's really nice. I've had it before, but I've had this bottle for a long time. Oh, go to start controversy here, Justin.
I won't start it. Matt Darcy, old Newry whiskies. Yes, I have to read that too. I've read the first bit of it, but I've got more of it to read. I've got too many this year.
No, I read it. I read it in an afternoon, and I really enjoyed it. It's well worth reading. Well worth reading.
There you go. There's Jamie saying it's not going to argue. The duff is shite. I actually don't. I don't mind it either. I'm only slagging. You know, there's a nice restaurant there, and I bought a guitar for my mother there a couple of years ago. I was hoping she was going to be the next Joan Baez. You know.
This is supposed to be a whiskey. That's the most random thing. Random thing. I bought my mum a guitar.
It's the end. It's the end of year show.
Yeah.
It's the end of year show.
Listen, I want to say a few thank yous to people. By the way, can I thank Mark and Julie and Geordie and Patrick and all the other people who I know they tune in every week. This year's been really tough on lots of people for whole piles of reasons. We set this thing up and started doing it really on a bit of a whim. People say they like it. People really enjoy it. I love doing it. I think it's the highlight of my week, really.
Stanley says he's screaming because it's a Valentine date. Stanley, are you trying to get yourself famous like that cake shop that didn't make the cake for the two men? I think you are. What you actually don't know is they are viewers of the show. So there you go, Stanley. So yeah, we could maybe arrange that. I could get somebody to come around from one of the newspapers. Me and Marty could come in holding hands, and you could bar us. that would be good. That would be. It's as well. I'm going to edit this bit out, and it isn't going to... Legal team enters chat. Yes, there you go. So, listen, you've thanked everybody. It's been fantastic.
It has been, and I just want to thank you as well, because it's been fabulous doing this with you all year. This was your idea, and it's all sort of, I don't know, it just sort of works. And I thank you because you put in a lot of work to this, and you keep me right on many things. So I just want to thank you for it. It's been much appreciated.
Yeah, it is. It's only even going to get better as soon as we can get out and about and round some of these fabulous distilleries and do a video. You know, obviously it's better to do it the weekend when people that are whiskey drinkers are watching. Because let's face it, most of us have jobs when we're allowed to go to work, yeah, it's one of those things. We will. There's a lot going on in whiskey in the province and further afield as well.
Yes,
we are interested in particularly going to Japan and covering whiskey for the Olympics, Marty, aren't we? Yeah.
Justin,
first class hotels are fine. Business class flights we need to get there, but yeah.
Justin, good man, go anywhere. Good man should appear to go anywhere, you know. So if they want you and I to go to Japan and report, or they want us to go to Tasmania or Finland or America, go to Texas or any of the other places, more than happy to go.
Okay, so stay safe, everybody. It hasn't been a great time, but stick with it. And well, as Boris says, there is light on the horizon. So thank you.
Boris also goes blah, 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 blah. So I wouldn't take what Boris says too literal, but probably more so than Michelle and Arlene. Please say it soon as mend it.
Yeah, we would go to Lurgan. If you get the Buckfast out, we'll come to Lurgan, Jamie. There you go. Oh, look, they're coming in thick and fast. Thanks, lad. You've helped me get a bad year drunk. Not your fault. It's inbuilt into the system. It is. There you go. You're terrible. There you go. Listen, thanks very much, Marty. All the best. And well, when this lockdown lifts, we'll maybe meet halfway for a little walk in Larne. There you go.
That'll do, buddy. That'll do.
Memorial. All right. Take it easy.
Everybody.